Tonight, the United States President Donald Trump will lay out a confrontational strategy towards Iran, and Wion has exclusively accessed the details of what Trump has up his sleeve. Revealed for the first time ever is Trump's new Iranian strategy. Wion has learned that Trump will deny Iranian regime all paths to a nuclear weapon. He will also oppose activities of Islamic Revolutionary Guards and stop their funding. He will also seek international support to condemn the rights violations by Revolutionary Guards. He will try and take measures to neutralize Iran government's destabilizing influence and constrain all its aggressions. The United States President is planning to revitalize his country's traditional allies and regional partners as bulwarks against Iran. Donald Trump has been a long-standing critique of the Iran's nuclear deal and had even pledged to scrap it during his presidential campaign. But it remains unclear as to whether Trump will actually call on the US to abandon the agreement. Another sticking point is Iran's Revolutionary Guards. While Trump is expected to condemn their activities, will he go actually ahead and designate them as a terror group? The US President is expected to reveal his new Iranian strategy at 10:15 p.m. Indian Standard Time. But we at Wion have exclusive details of his three-pronged action plan to counter Iran. Number one, he will look for a strict enforcement of Iran nuclear deal. Number two, he will try to contain the Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Number three, he will gather all allies, regional players against Iran. And for more on this story, I am joined by our senior affair editor, Padma Rao from the newsroom. Thank you very much, Padma, for joining me on the broadcast. So it seems to me that this is a movie that I have already seen. The United States is building up the narrative of Iran as a rocky state. They are fighting on all the fronts. What is the purpose, according to you, of the US trying to depict Iran as the ultimate enemy? Let's call it like this.
Well, if the press release that Wion had exclusive access to several hours before the president makes his address at 10:15 p.m. IST, if that is anything to go by, Daniele, it seems to be a lot of noise. You know, it's almost like stones in an empty vessel, because these are noises that we've heard from the United States administration of President Trump several times over. As the piece you saw, we aired just now, pointed out, this was mentioned several times over, even in his campaign speeches, that he intends to ban, or he intends to rather renege on the nuclear deal with Iran. But as you can tell from the press release, nothing of the sort has really happened. All he has done is urge the International Atomic Energy Agency situated in Vienna to, monitor Iran's nuclear program more intensively. Of course, he's made a lot of threats about outlawing the Iranian Guard and, naming them a terrorist group. But you tell me, Daniela, how many groups around the world have been proscribed or put on a list of terrorist groups by the United States? And has that really stopped them from, carrying out their nefarious activities? I speak of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, I speak of the Hizbul Mujahideen in our own region in South Asia. Banning by the United States only seems to have the opposite effect. And as our correspondent in Iran was telling us this morning, it might in fact have a very detrimental effect. It might persuade, or it might even set off a flourishing black market in nuclear raw material. So that is not quite the effect President Trump is trying to achieve. And unfortunately, this kind of rhetoric is not going to help.
And Padma, another question. How much of these, as you say, the rumor, noise, let's say, how much of these, according to you, is made to actually make the Saudis and Israel happy?
I'm sorry, Daniel, I couldn't get the last part of your question.
How much of this noise is being made by the United States of America to make Israel and the Saudis happy, which are their traditional ally in West Asia?
Well, this is the joke, because, I mean, there have been reports for quite a long time that Iran and Israel, they have been conducting a sort of a tier 2 and a tier 3 level, if not diplomacy, at least they've been holding talks. And both of them, and in the Middle East, as you know, Daniela, since you cover it yourself, you know, the dictum, my enemy's enemy is my best friend, pretty much prevails. So there are no enemies and there are no friends. There are only opportunistic friends in the Middle East. And it remains to be seen to what extent Israel may surprise us all by, you know, entering into a totally new and different relationship with Iran itself, whether overtly or covertly.
Thank you very much, Padma, for joining me on the broadcast. She was trying to understand a bit better with us what is going on at 10:15 when Trump is expected to announce finally what will be his final take on the Iran nuclear deal, a deal that he judged many times as the worst deal that the United States of America has ever struck with a country. But let's decode a little bit better. Let's try to understand together what is this agreement. Let's decode Iran's landmark nuclear agreement, which was finalized in 2015 after 2 rounds of negotiations. It is a joint comprehensive plan of action sealed in 2015. It was not signed only by the United States. In fact, even the UK, Russia, France, China and Germany decided to sign it. According to this deal, Iran commits to cut plutonium production to limit uranium enrichment to around 3%. In exchange, economic sanctions against Iran will be relaxed. The sticking point is called the Sunset Clause, which will ease some restrictions. This is the brainchild of President Obama, who decided to relax the relationship between the US and Iran. Perhaps he decided it was time to stabilize the Middle East through talks with Iran. What he said about the deal is that the deal is built on verification, though, not on trust. This means that Iran will be verified, Iranian intentions will be verified constantly. But what Trump said, it said that incompetence was what made Iran a world power. So the two presidents, once again, are not in line. What about France? France said that tossing the deal will not stop Iran's nuclear plans at all.